Those that learn to dance in the rain are more likely to make it. Have you ever had one of those days where it just feels like literally everything that could go wrong went wrong? And so you're left in this pile of dirt, and then it rained. And so now you're left in this pile of mud. And think about it. When you're in mud, it's much harder to get yourself out of the mud than if you were just in dirt. Now that is my day today, and that's exactly why I'm filming this video today and not the one I had originally planned. So whether it's your first time seeing my face or you've been here before, you should know that something very important to me is that I film very intuitively, because I am a divine feminine intuitive being. And so if I'm not doing something that feels right to me in my heart and my soul, I'm not going to do it. Especially with something like this that I take so much pride and joy in. This channel is where I show up most authentically. So this all goes to say that maybe you're having this day today like me, or you're in this rut between manifesting your dream life and not seeing the results you want, being somewhere in between your old self and your new self. And so I want to help you ease your mind, get the burdens out of your heart, because honestly, before I say anything else, I just want to remind you, we're literally on a floating rock in the middle of other floating rocks that comprise a galaxy surrounded by trillions of other galaxies. We really don't know why we're here, where we're going, and that's okay. So I feel like there are so many other more grand unknowns in the world that your unknowns of right now shouldn't feel like they're the end of the world. Another confirmation that this is exactly where I'm meant to be is that last night going into today, I have seen 444. That has been my angel number of the day. And then the day before that, which is when I listened to the podcast that now I recognize are fueling this video as well, I saw 222. So 444 is all about trusting your intuition, and I'm using my intuition to speak to you right now. And 222 is all about you being exactly where you're meant to be. You're in the right place at the right time. And so I was having a very, what I would normally call a negative experience getting ready while filming this video. I was noticing myself get stressed out, have these negative thoughts, have these negative feelings like, oh my gosh, why am I even doing this? Why am I here? I want to give up and just rage quit, honestly. And then because I'm on this journey and I am so hyper aware of my thoughts, I recognized that these are the problems that I asked for. When you're trying to manifest something, obviously there are going to be challenges that come along with getting that manifestation. A few years ago, I read The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F by Mark Manson. And one of the really important things he talks about in that book is how we're always going to have something that we give a fuck about. So whether it's our job or wanting to go to the gym or eating healthy or improving our makeup routine, like there's always some kind of fuck we have to give. And so your job isn't to eliminate the fucks or be fuckless. Your job is just to simply choose what you want to give a fuck about. For me, this channel is what I fuck with the most. Truly, even in moments like tonight, I can come back into a sense of gratitude and a sense of self and be like, okay, yeah, I had a really shitty time getting ready, but this is what I give a fuck about. Now that the storm has passed and I'm sitting down talking to you and I can feel my heart expand, and I feel like I'm gonna cry because I cry in almost every video because I just love it so much and I speak from such a place of love and with my heart. It just makes it all feel worth it. And so I'm so happy that I didn't rage quit an hour ago when I felt like it, because I can now be here filming this video. And if I think about it too, if I hadn't gone through all of this frustration and then chose to come out of it, I never would have filmed this video tonight. I would have gone with my original video, which wouldn't have felt authentic. It would have made the whole creative process just not enjoyable, whereas this doesn't feel like a drag to me. And so my first point is be grateful for your problems because you asked for them. If you asked for a major upgrade in your life, expect all of the old things in your life to leave. You have to release to receive. Say it with me. I am releasing to receive. In other words, you have to be willing to pay the price. I just listened to this beautiful podcast by Erin Nightingale who talks about this. You have to pay the price in order to get what you want, and that price is your old self. Now, bringing it back to this example I gave at the beginning of the video, it can be a lot harder to do that when your old self is kind of solidified by mud. To manifest anything, it takes a certain intention with an elevated emotion. So it's going to be a lot harder for you to break free free from this pile of mud than it would if it was just dirt that you weren't attached to per se, because you didn't have that emotion to attach to those thought patterns. When I was in the middle of my pile of mud right now, I knew ultimately that I didn't want to give up and I didn't want to rage quit, because I only have a certain amount of time and days where I can film videos. I also washed my hair yesterday night and I put my hair in rollers and did my Dyson. There's too much on the line for me to give up, but at the same time, I didn't want to film within this headspace. So instead of just rage quitting or going in it with this closed heart who, because she was stressed or because she was falling into this pile of mud of her old conditionings that told her this is stressful, this is no fun, you don't want to do this, or this egoic version of myself who doesn't believe maybe she's good enough or doesn't believe that she has what it takes to make it or do this to the best of her ability or in entirety of her potential or just the way it should be properly done, I took a step back, and the first thing I did was I meditated. I did a 5-minute meditation to recenter myself, and then I tried to go back into getting ready, and I was still very much frustrated because just little things were happening that were pissing me off. So I said, okay, enough, and I left the room and I went to go make myself eggs. What I did in this example was took myself out of the mud. I did things that helped make it easier to take myself out of the mud, and I thought about what would my higher self do in this situation. If my ultimate goal is to be my most authentic self, be my highest self, so that that is the version of me that shows up and is reflected when I do one of the most important things to me, which is filming these videos and having this YouTube channel, then I have to act like her. And the way I was feeling and the thoughts I was having were not her and was not authentic to her. And so I did the things that were gonna be most helpful for me to come back into a state where I was grounded and where my heart was open so that I could film a video with my intuition doing most of the talking rather than me following a script and just being like, okay, so today we're talking about this and no one wants to watch that. I don't want to watch that. I don't want to be that. No, because I give the most fucks about being my most authentic self and about this YouTube channel, that outweighs my fears and my doubts and my egoic mentality and my negative thoughts and my negative self-talk. I am committed to the path where I am constantly paying the price to get to this ultimate goal of serving myself in the best way, which directly means that I'm also serving you in the best way. So yeah, manifesting's great and all sunshine and rainbows when you're in a good mood or you're having a good day or you have that extra push from being motivated for whatever reason, or the stars are aligning, or you're in your follicular phase of your menstrual cycle, or it's a new moon. So yes, when you have all of these other factors that play into the reason why you're so blissful and abundant, it can be great. You could feel like, oh my gosh, I'm already full of the most gratitude in the world. But it's truly in the moments like this where conflict arises or the challenge comes up where you ultimately make the decision of reverting back to your old self and how they would react, usually with a lack of patience, a lack of love, a lack of gratitude, and choose to be your higher self who would react in a much more different, more positive way for whatever situation you may be going through. It's really not that serious. Like me sitting here getting so upset over the fact that it's taking me hours and hours to set up my lighting or do my makeup and everything's going wrong for whatever reason my past believed that that was annoying and a negative experience, but it doesn't have to be ultimately, because you are fully in control of your thoughts and your reality. And if I want to choose a new and better reality for myself, then I have to think differently about the situation. And like I said, I chose to have this problem when I set the intention of having this YouTube channel. When I committed to myself in this way, I also signed my name on having these problems, on having days where filming and getting ready feels like a drag, or filming and getting ready takes extra time, or I'm in this crossroads of like, do I film this video? Do I film that video? Or not feeling like my intuitive channel is fully opened up, not feeling like my heart is fully opened up. And that's exactly where I was tonight. But instead of letting it just take over me, I chose to move through it properly. I was just listening to this beautiful song, and one of the lyrics is like, I allow myself to move through every experience, every end of my emotions. But it's just basically talking about letting yourself feel every angle of emotions so you can fully experience. But ultimately, it's truly what makes you better, and it's truly what leads you back to yourself. It's not the moments that are all sunshine and rainbows. It's the moments of darkness where you can return back to self and you can return back to the light that are the ones that really solidify this new character of yours. I'm trying to think of another word for dirt. Think of like the opposite of dirt. Glitter. Oh my gosh, that's the opposite of dirt. You know how when you have shimmer, glitter on your eye, you can never get it off? Yeah, that's what we're transitioning into. Mud that's stuck versus glitter that is always going to be with you. And the more you start to practice this mindfulness, the easier it's going to be to get yourself out of this rut. So I'm no stranger to negative emotions, obviously. And instead of denying them, I just look at it as a part of the process. And so I let myself feel those in its entirety so that I can move forward with a better and clearer headspace. And like I said, those emotions that we often associate with the word bad don't have to be bad. In the spiritual realm, there's no such thing as good and bad. Everything is just frequency vibrating at a different rate. So allowing myself to be most authentic, and the same for you, requires you being able to be in alignment with the flow that is life. Life isn't linear. No cycle in life is linear. The way we operate sure as hell isn't linear. And so the less we fight that, the easier it's going to be to actually get to where we want to be. If you think of yourself swimming and there's these really heavy waves coming at you, you can try swim all you want with all of your force, all of your might. The waves are still going to be hitting you and pushing you with a level of intensity that you ultimately cannot beat. You ultimately can't outswim these waves. But theoretically, if I just stopped swimming and turned on my back and floated and let the waves carry me, I'd ultimately end up on this beautiful beach shore. So this analogy is really just trying to get you to understand that you can fight it all you want, but ultimately there are greater laws at play that you can't control. And every moment of stress or trigger is just teaching you how to return back to source or back to self, coming back into that sense of authenticity and that groundedness, because when you're moving to this new version of yourself, you're going to have to release the parts of you that resisted that. I still had a block that I needed to work through. I still needed to work through this scenario where I was getting triggered because I'm moving towards source. So I needed to learn how to come back to that sense of source, return to that open heart groundedness by moving through a situation that once triggered me but now doesn't, because I have the tools to just say, I'm going to lay on my back and just flow through this properly. Instead of resisting every single thing that could have gone wrong and just doing it my way because my ego thinks it's right, I said, no, that's not who my truest self is, and that's not the way she would do things. And so I took the steps to be her in this situation. And now look at me. I'm doing better than I would have been if nothing had gone wrong and I just filmed as normal. So you can't let your fear win. You're going to have moments when you get frustrated, when you feel like nothing's making sense, when you feel like you're failing, but it doesn't mean you're failing. Ultimately, it's bringing you closer to source by putting you through an ego death. I just listened to this wonderful podcast by Steve Harvey, and I'm going to link all of the things I'm talking about in the description. And he gave this example of not letting fear win when it comes to achieving your dreams. You have to go all in. And he gave this analogy of you standing on the edge of a cliff and you're seeing all of these people gliding on their parachutes in the sky and like soaring and flying, and you want to be that. Most people will never jump off the cliff because they're scared of falling. I fear at this point, I can't help but laugh. Truly and genuinely, I can't help but laugh. I just filmed the last 30 minutes of this video. Before that, my camera battery had died. Now, in the context of tonight, you would think that would send me over the edge, but I said, nope. I'm a spiritual body. This is teaching me patience. So I decided I should be a little crafty. I wasn't gonna film on my phone. I was gonna film on my G7X. And so I get on my G7X. I'm like, oh wow, I really forgot how much I love this camera and I love the lens. And then what happens? My literal viewfinder breaks off from the back of this camera. I can't make this up. That happened and I'm like, okay. okay. And so I take my battery out of the charger, replug it in my camera. It's fully charged. Hurrah. It wasn't like it had 6 hours to charge when everything else was going wrong when I was getting ready. And so I film the next 30 minutes of my video. I turn on my microphone, everything's going well. I really feel like, yes, I was able to come back into the present moment after that hectic situation of having my literal camera break and then my battery die. And so I was like, wonderful. Now my camera battery just died again. Closed out my thought and I was like, I'm at peace with this. Tell me why. I go check the footage and there was no audio. There is no audio. I wish I was joking. There is no audio. Technical difficulties. I just had to share because literally WTF. What do you mean? Oh my gosh, and you guys don't even know the actual tomfoolery that was going on when I was getting ready, doing my makeup and like setting up this lighting. Those little things like this, all of this just happened. You don't even know. I think this is my sign to take a nice shower, do a nice little meditation and go to bed because you're fucking lying. You're fucking lying. No, guys. I'm gonna crash out and I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry. Enough for tonight. We're making progress. To be continued.